sport of Jiu-Jitsu, I would say my favourite things are spending time with my family. I actually used to love the computer game, but I actually quit it because I was doing it too much and it was impacting my Jiu-Jitsu. And an interesting fact, probably that something I love outside of sport, is I love going to see musicals and shows with my wife. So I'm from Swansea, Wales. I've lived here my entire life. I actually was born and raised in Swansea. I went to Cardiff University for a couple of years and moved away. When I returned, I just moved outside of Swansea to a little place called Llanelli, and I've lived there for the last 5 years. My gym is just based on the outskirts of Swansea, near Llanelli, hence why I moved there. And I've got to be honest, I love travelling, I love seeing all the parts of the world, but nothing makes me happier than returning to Swansea, Wales. And if we had the sun that other countries have, it would be one of the best destinations in the world. So I actually went to a Welsh school, so I speak the native language, which was a little bit different. I would say you get a bit more opportunity. The schools are smaller, there's less people there. I've got a twin brother, a sister, and obviously doing sport my entire life. I would say like it was a weird upbringing because 90% of my friends were like 15 years older than me. You know, I was like 16 years old doing jiu-jitsu, and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna hang out with my friend. And they'd be like, who's your friend? And I'd be like, I was like 38. You know, so it was like a weird thing, like where I was spending a lot of time with older people, so I felt like I matured a little bit quicker, and obviously every opportunity I had, I was really just on the mat. You know, like I had a good education, I went to university, but even at university I was actually coming back from Cardiff to Swansea 2 days a week just to train. So I was training jiu-jitsu instead of going to my lectures, you know. I always knew I wanted to do jiu-jitsu full time. My dad initially got me into the sport for self-defense when I was younger, and my path to kind of where I am now is not like luck, but it's a lot of chance. There's a lot of just like this led to this, led to this, and I wasn't 5 years old sitting in my bedroom with a poster of jiu-jitsu on my wall thinking one day I'm going to be a world champion. I kind of just loved sport, wanted to compete. I was getting better at jiu-jitsu all the time because I was doing it from such a young age, and people were like, do you want to go compete? And I'd be like, yeah, okay, like I'll compete against anyone, it doesn't matter, you know. And then I'd beat somebody and they'd be like, oh, do you need to compete that guy? I'm like, well, I'll just find out, and I'll just go compete. So, and then I got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was competing against like world level athletes. And even when I was signing contracts to fight world level athletes, I like sitting, you know, I'm sitting in Llanelli in Costa with my wife, and I get a phone call like, oh, do you want to fight in Minari? And I was like just sitting there for like 5 minutes, and I was like, this can't be real, like this can't be what, like I'm just like a kid from Wales who loves jiu-jitsu. And very similar about South Africa, I just got a message on Instagram like, do you want to come to South Africa? And I was just like, how, that doesn't happen, you know, this just doesn't happen. So yeah, like, I've loved growing up in Wales, and I've loved every opportunity I've ever had from doing what I do. But the truth is, like, I just think that's what got me to where I am, is when people brought an opportunity my way, I just said yes. So in school, do you want to take part in this? Do you want to take part in that? Yes, yes, all the time. Because you might enjoy it, you might not. But if you don't take the opportunity when it comes, you'll never know.
What keeps you coming back to jiu-jitsu?
So, jiu-jitsu for me is the ultimate combination of brain power and physical abilities, physical attributes. It combines, it's just such, for me it's a beautiful art form that combines your ability to make great decisions under physically high demanding situations. I've always loved the idea of being an athlete, but I've actually always loved the idea of being a student. And for me personally, when I watch other people approach sport, they always just approach it from an athletic point of view. And the truth is, studying and understanding mechanics and leverage and how the body works is as important as just being big and strong. You know, like jiu-jitsu is still evolving, which is different to most other sports. Most other sports require like a rule change for the sport to evolve now. So Jiu-Jitsu doesn't. In fact, Jiu-Jitsu still hasn't even found the rule set that is the absolute. You know, they haven't found the rule set where everyone's going to do that rule set worldwide. It's always competitive. So the truth is, you come to the gym every day, and it's kind of like, if you were obsessed with Rubik's Cubes, it's kind of like you wake up and someone's designed a new Rubik's Cube for you to try and solve. And then you solve it, and then the next day you wake up and they've got another one. It's just a never-ending cycle of physical attributes and working out to the extreme, because you're pushing your body to the limit. You know, like the goal of Jiu-Jitsu is literally to break another human body in the most effortless way possible. It's a crazy thing to think about, but yeah, I suppose it's the fact that your brain is being utilised so much and your physical output is so high. Because you go home, you know, from a really good session and you could be equally physically and mentally exhausted. You're not just one or the other. I've been there, so you know, it's you just gotta have it, you know. Every sport, every person, it doesn't even matter. Like the highs and lows are so personal that everyone can think you're just on a continuous high, because when your highs are higher, your low is actually higher, you know, and you feel it even more so. The truth is, I've had a hard 6 months competing. I was on the back of 2 losses from the last ABAC Trials, and who's number 1. I've got a very winning record. If you look at my record in the last 5-6 years, my loss rate is like 1 or 2 matches per year, and I'm having 30 to 50 matches per year. So I was really riding a big momentum wave, and I was feeling great, and I still do. You know, I still back my jiu-jitsu, and I still love what I do. But I am getting a little bit older. My body's a little bit more wary, and last year, unfortunately, I just caught a pretty bad injury. The first one I've had through my entire career, to be honest with you. I've been very fortunate with very limited injuries through my career, but last year was an injury I couldn't train around. It was the first time it's happened to me where I had to take time off the mat, which I was fine with. I actually enjoyed a bit of time away and coaching and doing what I could, lifting weights in the gym. But when I returned to competition, I actually returned having not trained. And you know, there's a very easy, famous, people say it all the time, basically, you can't be upset from getting the results from the work you didn't do. And I didn't do the work. And that's what stung me last year, is that I know I didn't do the work, but there was so much expectation on me to perform anyway, that I felt like I'm not even going to leave people down, because I wanted to go compete. You know, I love competing. And I think on your worst day, if you can still compete and perform well, then you know, you're doing a good show on yourself. And I did actually give a good show on myself last year. I fought some of the best guys you could find, and I still didn't roll over. You know, I was very competitive, and I felt very hungry. After the losses, unfortunately, my hunger diminished a little bit. I was a little bit like, do I really want to keep destroying my body for basically peanuts? You know, jiu-jitsu is not a high-paying sport, you know, so you've got to do it for the love of it. And I do love the sport. And this year I just returned from ABAC Trials, the second trials, where I lost to the winner Garbeg by decision in the semi-finals. personally, I thought I won the match, if I'm honest, but I always know it can go that way. You know, if you don't put the points on the board, at the end of the day, anything can happen, and that's where I failed. I should have made sure I won the match. But I had 5 other matches on that day. I submitted 4 guys, and I beat the other one very convincingly. But I just felt great. It's the hungriest I've been for a long time, and every time I could feel the energy of the crowd, whether it was negative or positive. I was just feeding off it, and every match I was just getting more and more back into the version of myself that was just running through people, you know. So I really felt great off the back of that. And I'm going to Turkey. Also, I would have competed in Turkey by the time Submission Games comes round in the ABAC qualifiers, where I'm hoping my team Eurotrash can qualify for the ABAC World Championships. I'm fighting 70 kilograms against a bunch of other very high level guys, but again, given how I feel right now, I'm very prepared and feeling good to compete.
As a Welshman,
yep.
How do you feel about travelling to South Africa to compete?
Love it. So I've competed in Australia, America, and all over Europe. I love being in the home crowd, and I love my team being there to support me, but there's something about going into like enemy territory and competing that just is so oh man, it's like a drug, you know, for your body. It's so fun. Like when the whole crowd hates you or doesn't want you to win, it's so satisfying. Because the truth is, like, I feel like I'm going to win. I feel like I'm going to put on a show, and I feel like I'm going to win people over. And that's what I think is fun about jiu-jitsu, you know. Like, I went to Australia, I fought the best guy at my weight division. I had a great performance, and when I was walking out, the crowd were not feeling me. And by the end of the match, people were cheering, they were going for it, you know, and I felt like I'd won the crowd over a little bit. And it's only jiu-jitsu, isn't it? You know, we're not fighting to the death, we're not fighting MMA, it's not, you know, it's nothing major, but it's just fun going into somebody else's kind of home turf and trying to perform. Win or lose, my goal is always to show my best version of my jiu-jitsu. The idea of competing in South Africa itself is still a bit surreal. I wanted to go to South Africa since I was like 15 years old. I watched films of safari passes. I've always wanted to go, and the thought that jiu-jitsu has got me to South Africa, that's more than jiu-jitsu. That's incredible, you know. And I'm so grateful for the people who made that happen. But yeah, I never ever once thought that jiu-jitsu would get me to as many places as it did, allow me to compete how I have competed, and perform in front of so many different people. That's what it is for me, you know. I get to perform in front of, I don't know how many was going to be there, but it's just a bunch of people who've never maybe heard of me, and I get an opportunity to show them like what I can do, and that's brilliant.
How much do you know about the South African jiu-jitsu scene?
So up until I visited South Africa last year for the first time, and I travelled around many gyms and I sparred with a lot of people. Up until that point, obviously the only person I was aware of from South Africa was Luke Griffiths, who's a very, very talented athlete. He's a phenomenal grappler. And the truth is, when I went there, it's insane because I genuinely didn't think South Africa was as developed as it was. So I was expecting to be a lot kind of rougher than it was, to be honest, and I thought the level would be a little bit lower. I've travelled extensively in jiu-jitsu in so many places, and obviously America, you always expect them to be top-notch. Poland has got a great reputation, but I was very, very surprised with how tough and durable everyone was. If I was going to describe the jiu-jitsu I experienced in South Africa, it would be tough. I felt like the people were hard, you know. They were rugged and they pushed, and the finesse, you know, probably wasn't as high as I felt in other places, but they were game. And the ability to be game and actually push on your opponent and not quit. It's a very hard trait sometimes to teach people. Weirdly, Welsh people have actually got a very similar habit like that. You know, we've come from like miners and harder people from generations, and I feel like one of the things like MMA, for example, Welsh MMA, like one thing a lot of people say about Welsh MMA fighters, especially at the highest level, is that they might not be the most talented or skillful, but they're tough human beings, you know. And yeah, for me, that's why I thought of South African Jiu-Jitsu when I went there. I actually don't know much about my opponent, is the truth, but I sparred with maybe 200 people in my last visit, and I sparred a lot of good guys from lots of good gyms, and they were very good. So all I know is he's probably going to be a bit bigger than me, because this weight division is actually not my weight division. I'm fighting upper weight, so he's going to be a bit bigger, a bit stronger, but hopefully my combination of my physical toughness could maybe not match his, but then my technique and my finesse should counterbalance that.
Sweet. Do you have any messages for the people of South Africa or any fans who might be watching this?
I just hope you enjoy. Anyone who watches my jiu-jitsu, if I win, lose or draw, the only thing I concern myself with is I don't want jiu-jitsu to be boring. I don't want people to go to a show, like want to look at their phone instead of watch the matches. All I want to do is show people that jiu-jitsu can be entertaining, it can be fun to watch. I'm going to push the pace for sure, like I back my cardio 100%, like all the time. So, and I'm not afraid of like wrestling, playing guard, passing, like I'm not worried about submissions, I'll get tied up, I'm not bothered, you know, like I really will hunt for the finish, is the truth. And I just hope that people enjoy what I show, and regardless of the result, appreciate the fact that how much hard work goes into the ability to perform like that. You know, that's what I say all the time when I watch UFC or something. You know, they're like, "Oh my God, he's terrible." It's like, you don't know how hard that guy's worked, you know. And I'm working hard right now, and I just want people to see the fruits of my labour, essentially.